What is up, guys? I'm your friendly neighborhood web war fanatic, and I recently made a video talking about the legacy environment and the current environment, the announcement of that for Marvel Champions by Fantasy Flight Games. And if you guys have not seen that LCG Fireside Chat, I definitely recommend that you guys go see it. I'll put the link of that in the description of this video. But basically, a lot of you guys, I think a big portion of the online community is very concerned by this. And a lot of you guys left some really insightful comments and some really interesting ideas for what Fantasy Flight Games could possibly do in the future. So this video here, I just kind of want to highlight those comments, and I want to kind of make sure that the community's voices are heard if they aren't already. So I did have a poll on my channel, and I asked you guys, how do you guys feel about Marvel Champions stopping their reprints of the old heroes and splitting the game into those two categories of the legacy environment and the current environment? And I only had this poll a few hours ago, but the majority of people, actually 49%, voted that it's fine and that they have most content and that it doesn't affect them. So I think that makes sense. I think most people that follow my channel are more diehard fans of Marvel Champions, right? To actually like go on YouTube and to want to see more Marvel Champions. So most of you guys probably have more content, and a lot of you guys are okay with that. And I think that makes sense because you guys have all the old content, all the legacy content, and if you guys just buy the newer content to fulfill the current environment stuff, then that's entirely fine. And then for newer players, there was a very small percentage of new players that were okay with it, only 5% here. And then 36% of people voted, I don't like it as a player who has most content. So this is just kind of like being a little bit hesitant and worried about the future of what this holds for Marvel Champions. And then 11% of people voted that they are new players and they don't like it. So I'm not entirely sure, about these poll results, if they reflect what Fantasy Flight Games necessarily is looking for. And obviously, the sample size for my channel's viewers, I think is gonna be very different than like actual people that like all the people that play Marvel Champions, in totality. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me that I think that between all the people, so 49 plus 36, so that's gonna be 85% of people that voted so far are people that play a lot of Marvel Champions and have most of the content. And the majority of those of that type of people, I guess, are okay with the legacy and the current environment. And then for newer players, about 16% of people that voted are newer players, and the majority of that, 11%, said that they did not like it, and then 5% of new players did like it. And I did have some people comment who are newer players, and they said they do, or they are excited for this type of split because they want to play like Captain America, and this will give them a chance to finally play that hero because the older one is out of print and they don't have access to that. So I just want to make sure that everyone's voices is heard here. And I do feel that this is a pretty I don't know, this topic, I feel like people are very passionate about this topic. So yeah, let's jump back over to the video here, and I'm gonna have the poll that I put so you guys can see there, and we can just kind of go through all the comments, and I'm going to be reading every single comment here. I've already read through all of them, and I think I replied to every single comment as well, but I'm going to be reading it here. So if you guys say comment, you guys will see your comments here, and I think a lot of you guys actually have some really cool ideas. So let's go ahead and read the comments here. So first comment here is from Bruce. He says, I think FFG and I have a very different opinion on what a fireside chat means. I imagine an intimate conversation in a warm, cozy, safe space with someone you care about while nestling a nice hot mug of cocoa. This seems more like your partner sitting there saying, by the way, I got rid of your vinyl collection because it was taking up too much space. Oh, and I'm falling in love with someone else, and they're moving in tomorrow, and if you don't like it, you can leave. This cocoa's nice, isn't it? Yeah, this was I think that a lot of people really identified with this comment. It got 22 upvotes, so I think that a lot of people agreed with this. I think D20 comment out here, yeah, he laughed out loud at this comment. Yeah, I didn't even know about the term fireside. Shoutouts to Ryan here, who explained that actually FDR popularized the term fireside chat, I guess, during the Great Depression whenever he addressed the country, trying to explain the complicated reasons for that. So yeah, thank you, Ryan, for explaining that for us. But yeah, I think that the majority of people, at least on YouTube that watch my channel, do kind of agree with Bruce here. Next, we have a comment here from Evil, and he thinks that this is mostly negative, especially for newer players. And he says this because newer players that really get into Marvel Champions are going to want to play the old characters like the OG Doctor Strange. And I definitely agree with that. I think it's also bad for people that have complete sets. I think it's bad because we're going to pay more for reprints. At least it's cheaper and feels bad. Feels less bad than if they had announced a second edition that's not compatible with the first. But in the end, we are going to be paying for more reprints with this type of format. Finally, I think it's bad for the community as a whole because it will split the player base into people that play current format and those that play in the legacy format. And while this is negative, I won't quit the game yet because I already have a complete collection. If I was one of the players that didn't have the Doctor Strange, Captain America, or Essential modes, I think I would end up quitting the game. And yeah, this got 20 upvotes, so definitely I think a lot of people really agree with this comment as well. And I mean, Evo made some really good points, and I can't even disagree with most of the points that he made here. I think that a newer player that wants to get into the game, they're gonna want to play the OG Doctor Strange, even if there is like a new Doctor Strange that has a time stone in his kit or something like that. I think that people, even with that newer Doctor Strange, still want to play the older one, and they just won't have access to it. And yeah, I mean, I think that he makes a really good point there. Oh, next we have a comment here from Lalo. I hate it. So many heroes on my wish list, so little time and money. I was just getting going too. So yeah, I think for a lot of newer players, they can relate to Lalo, and that stinks that that he is just getting into Marvel Champions and starting to get on a row, and they're just the possibilities of the future. He just doesn't have that, right? Like there's just not just like he can't just sit and chill and like I'll just get Doctor Strange whenever I want to. Like Doctor Strange is going out of print. A lot of the older heroes are gonna be out of print, so that kind of stinks. I'm holding out hope still though that possibly there's a way for there to be a new Doctor Strange and new Captain America that will make new players enjoy it more. But I mean, they have to be so good to make the new players not feel like they're missing out on those older versions of those characters. So I think that's definitely a tough one. Next, we have a comment here from Cynthia. This equivalence to set rotation certainly isn't a bad idea, but this sounds like something that should be stated at least a year ago, not now after so many things are already out of print and hard to find for new players. Personally, I bought a secondhand collection, but if I hadn't, I wouldn't even know where to find some other stuff for a reasonable price. So yeah, staying for me, I bought a lot of my stuff from a secondhand collection, and I think that is definitely a luckier way to go. So I'm grateful that I was able to do that. I'm glad Cynthia was also able to do that as well. And yeah, I mean, if this was stated at least a year ago, I think that people would have more of a chance to buy Captain America and Doctor Strange, but at the same time, it would still kind of lead to the situation that we're at right now. So yeah, because everyone would buy it all and it will get all bought up. So yeah, part of me does wish that we kind of knew longer, like for a longer time, while like Captain America is still getting printed. And I think they actually commented that yeah, the easiest way for them to do it is to just print the hero collection pack for the U.S. market, something they already did for global. And then content that are considered legacy by whatever definition they use should just go into the package deal. It reduces the number of products they need to print. Yeah, I think that this is actually one of the really good ideas that that I read here. So if you guys do not know, Cynthia is referring to this hero collection pack. Basically, it has like all the heroes from like a certain wave, and you can buy in one pack. And Fantasy Flight Games released this, globally for like other countries that got Marvel Champions late, but they never dropped this for America. And basically, a lot of people wanted this, because you have like Doctor Strange, Captain America, all in like one big pack, so you could buy them all at one time. And if Fantasy Flight Games is watching this, please, I think that would be a really good idea to just do like one more time, one final reprint, maybe like a legacy package, and like label it as a legacy package. And I come to here, I think that it would sell really well. I think that if they did that, I think a lot of people would be down to buy it. Yeah, I think that they would probably even sell out, right? I have no clue about marketing stuff or anything about how stuff sells, but as just a consumer, I could, like, anyone who doesn't have Captain America, I think would buy it. I think all the new players would also buy it, and I think Captain America, Doctor Strange, all those older heroes, I think that might be a good way to go. So I'm hoping that they could do this, right? This isn't like entirely out of the realm of possibilities of what they could do, especially getting all the feedback from the community. I think that there is a chance that they do this, and that would be really cool. And I really hope that they do that, because then a lot of people can get their Captain America and their Doctor Stranges before they actually finally go out of print. Well, I guess they kind of are out of print right now, because they aren't printing them anymore and they are, sold out. But this would be a good way to just have like, a 1 more year type of duration for people to buy a brand new Captain America or Doctor Strange before like they're like finally out of print, I guess. Next we have a comment here from Zumanji. You explained it perfectly, thank you. At first, when hearing about environments, I thought the new stuff would somehow be incompatible with the old stuff. If it's just a question of going out of print, I'm not that fierce about that. Yeah, so I think that the news is not the worst thing, at least right now, because we just don't know the full entire situation. And there it is going to be going out of print, and everything is going to be compatible. So I think it's good that Tony Fanchi, one of the designers from our Champions, did mention in that fireside chat that everything will be compatible with one another. So old stuff you can always play with, newer scenarios, and new heroes and new scenarios you can play with, the older stuff. So that's good. And there will be a new version of Captain America, new version of Doctor Strange. At least I think those two heroes for sure we can kind of know for sure, just because Tony specifically mentioned those two heroes as well. This is a comment from Orest. I'm in Marvel Champions since 2020. I'm a completionist and fear to be incentivized in purchasing a Captain America 2.0 or whatever. Patiently waiting to see what exactly Fantasy Flight Games will do. Thanks for the video. Yeah, I mean, yeah, shouts to the rest. I think that we're all kind of just in that same boat, just kind of waiting along. And I think that I identify a lot with this comment because one of my favorite things about Marvel Champs is that I don't think that there's power creep in the game. And shout out to D20. I know that he disagrees with me on that, and that's entirely okay. But I think having a Captain America 2.0 might make me feel some type of way about the original Captain America. Like, is he going to get obsolete? And if he's not obsolete, then older players would, or every single of the newer players, I mean, would still want to buy that old one. But if you make him obsolete, then like, yeah, that's good for the Captain America 2.0. But then like players like me and the older players that have the OG ones might feel incentivized in terms of that we have to buy the newer one because the older one is power crept out, right? So I mean, I think it's a tough choice either way. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what's gonna happen in the future for this. Next we have a comment from JJE. It's an enforced error. JJE is hilarious here. I think he's making a joke. By Nate French and Fantasy Flight Games publishing a 300-word explanation 3 days after the news release. So he's referring to the article that Fantasy Flight Games also released. When Point 3 extols the removal of cards and content as examples of freedom, you know you're deep into corporate speak, double talk. How anyone thinks they can pull this off in a non-competitive game is beyond me. I haven't seen anyone mention it, but I suspect the original core box is on track to be retired as well. Yeah, and I commented here to JDE. I actually disagree because, at least with the final point that he made right here, because Tony Fanchi did mention the core boxes in that fireside chat, and said that the core boxes for Arkham Horror and for Marvel Champions will always be a part of the current environment with the last 2 to 3 years of releases, right? So I think that's one big thing that he mentioned. Whether or not that will change in the future, I don't know. I think that I think we commented here that basically we can assume that that they're selling well, right? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Oh, and Matt actually commented here as well that D20 had a prediction, and that there's a potential. A lot of people are thinking that the next expansion will be Fantastic Four, because Tony mentioned that it's gonna be Caleb's Fantastic Swan song for his final box. So a lot of people think that to mean that it's gonna be the Fantastic Four, and a lot of people are thinking that this will be the new core box, so that they will have that core box and the original core box that we have. I have no clue. I would just assume that the original core box is selling well because it's an independent product, and if people buy just that core box, they can play the entire game of Marvel Champions with just that. And it's not out of print, right? They still have you can still buy the core box anytime you want. Yeah, so I would assume that the core box is doing well and that it will always be a part of the current environment, just because Tony said that. But things could always change in the future. Next we have a comment here from the Bum Inspector. As a player who is up to date on all the products, I don't think this will affect me much. I can't say the same for a new player though. Some new players may not care, but some new players may be very interested in some of the older heroes and would end up having to pay like $100 to a scalper for the hero pack, which kind of sucks. Yeah, that sucks a lot. My main concern is that I hope they plan on releasing heroes more frequently. If this is the road that they're going down, because revisiting older heroes and making new versions will make heroes like Daredevil and all these other heroes here take even longer to get in the game if the hero pack cadence doesn't increase. Like maybe when they release an updated hero, they also release another hero pack at the same time. this is also a really good idea that I'm hoping that Fantasy Flight Games incorporates. So, so one thing he mentioned here is, yeah, I mean the scalpers, it's entirely terrible. It's already going on right now. If you go on eBay right now, you can see Doctor Strange going for like $100, $140. You can see bids going up to like $80. So that means that people have already put in or willing to pay $80 for it, and the bill will probably end a little bit higher. So yeah, I mean that stinks. I mean, I just I don't know how, because there is definitely at least a minority market, if not a majority market, that wants to buy Captain America and Doctor Strange, and it just stinks that scalpers can make money off of it. And in Fantasy Flight Games, we can only trust what they've said, that they're not making a profit on Captain America and Doctor Strange, on those older heroes whenever they reprint them. So yeah, it's definitely a tough pill to swallow to see that scalpers are able to make money off of that. And obviously they're able to upcharge like way more. Like Fantasy Flight Games can't charge like $100 for a Doctor Strange or a Captain America hero pack for like the retail price of that. Yeah, and then where was the really genius idea that, yeah, so the release cadence, yeah, and then we talked about this a little bit here in the comment section, but yeah, I think that would be awesome, and I think that would be one way to really make people accept this idea a lot more. And I know I, for one, would be really happy with this. So instead of just releasing, like an expansion box and then 4 heroes and an expansion box and 4 heroes, so if they do 2 waves per year, we could kind of expect, 1 expansion, 4 heroes, so 2 expansions and 8 heroes total throughout a year, right? What if they increase that cadence? Like whenever they release an update old hero, they also release another hero pack at the same time, right? So instead of releasing like, a lot of people are speculating the 4 heroes for the Agent of Shield. So I'm just gonna guess, I think a lot of people kind of had a good idea what they are. So for silhouettes, a lot of people are thinking that it's gonna be, well, they already announced Shuri, and then a lot of people are thinking Silk will be the next one. We've seen some more stuff with Silk, with Tony's, spoiler picture of like a spider character. I'm super excited about that, and a lot of people are expecting Sam Wilson, either like Falcon or Captain America Sam Wilson, and then Bucky, the Winter Soldier, right? So what if instead of doing that, they still do the exact same thing, right? So they release Shuri, Silk, Buck or Sam Wilson, and whenever they release Bucky, they also release a revisited hero, like a revisited Captain America at the same time, or maybe even do it like with Sam Wilson, his Falcon / Captain America, depending on which version that they pick. That'd be pretty cool, right? So then we're still getting our 4 new heroes, in that wave. And then in addition to getting, Captain America Sam Wilson, we also get Captain America Steve Rogers, a revisited version of that. And I feel like that's kind of thematic as well, right? Because it's like 2 Captain Americas coming out at the same time. I'm not sure how well that would sell, but I think that whether or not it sells good, I think the community would be very happy and glad with that if they can release that. But obviously, I don't know the logistics of like, how difficult it is to create a new hero pack and fit that into a year in their timeline, because I'm sure they work very hard and that they're trying to meet all their deadlines and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if that's feasible, but that would be something that I think that the community would really love and definitely be more positive towards. I know I, for one, would like that a lot. Next we have a comment here from Comic Fan 457. My first thought when I heard their plan is that I would love an updated Hulk or Spider-Man with the Web War trait, as you mentioned. But the reason I will want to have a Web War Spider-Man is to synergize with all the Web War cards. However, those are going to be legacy cards, and so newer players will get a Web War Spider-Man and have no way of making a Web Warrior build outside of Silk's cards because she's like the newer hero. Same thing for a Guardian traded Iron Man. I hope Fantasy Flight Games makes all legacy stuff print to play like the Ronin Major if they never intend to print it again themselves. So yeah, I mean definitely print to play I think is going to be a really big thing to help the community, feel better and just have access to these cards without needing to buy them. Unfortunately, if you guys are like me, you guys are like technology deficient, and I don't even have a printer in our apartment, so I don't even have stuff to like print out. I don't know how to format the stuff and do all that stuff to like make sure it prints out correctly. I use clear sleeves, so I wouldn't be able to put the stuff. I'm just coming up with excuses of why it's not my favorite way, and that's kind of the biggest thing why I haven't gotten too much into custom content as well. I definitely want to in the future, whenever I maybe get a printer, maybe get a way to like get the stuff all printed out. But yeah, there's definitely ways to do it online. Shout outs to Nara Analyst, one of my channel members, who sent me one of those ways that you can print stuff online. But yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. But their comment here is actually something that I did not even consider until they commented this. So shout out to Comic Fan. But yeah, I mean, I think we all want to Spider-Man with the Web War trait. But if Sinister Motives, that expansion that has all the the Web War synergy cards, if those are all now legacy cards and out of print, then who cares about getting a Spider-Man with the Web Warrior trait? You don't have access to those older cards. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having a Web Warrior Spider-Man, right? So unless they, and Tony did mention he wants to reprint a lot of those older cards. So if we get that, I think that would be a lot better. And I can kind of assume that we would get that if they do revisit Spider-Man Peter Parker with the Web Warrior trait. I could assume that there would be enough of those cards in the card pool. So maybe the Web of Life Destiny would be in that hero pack. Maybe we'll get more, protection and those powerful basic allies or something like that, right? So yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but there's something that I'm hoping and I'm trusting that Fantasy Flight Games will be able to follow through on if they do revisit these characters. Next, we have a comment here from Juan, and this is one of the comments that I wanted to kind of show. So he's a newer player. I started playing Marvel Champions this year, and I don't live in the USA, so it's almost impossible to buy older characters such as Doctor Strange and all the cards that come with that pack. So he's really excited to see where they are going with it. And he commented on the poll that I had as well, and I think it's really interesting. So he is a newer player to the game, and he feels, I mean, I'm kind of paraphrasing, but I think that he feels defeated in that he can never get Doctor Strange and Captain America. I feel like the way he's commenting here is like, it's not a possibility. It's too expensive to buy, for scalpers, like $100+ online. And now with this, he's actually able to get a Captain America and a Doctor Strange in the future whenever they revisit those characters, right? So I think that's definitely a very positive look on it. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see newer players that actually are excited for this, and new players that this actually helps out with, right? Because I think a lot of new players feel like that they're missing out on those older heroes, but you have players like Juan here who actually feels like this will help them, that they have a problem currently where they don't have Doctor Strange and Captain America, and they don't have access to them, especially because they're not in America or in the States. But then now there's a chance for them to get that, right? So I think that's really cool, and yeah, I'm hopeful that that's exactly what will happen, right? That, and I know this is Fantasy Flight Games' intentions, or what they told us their intentions were, to give access to Captain America, to give newer players access to Captain America and Doctor Strange, because currently there is no access for that, but also for Fantasy Flight Games to make a profit, right? Because obviously if they just reprint everything and everyone has access, but then like the game goes bankrupt, we don't want that either. So I think that's that's what Fantasy Flight Games is shooting for, and I'm hoping that it will end up that way without any of the repercussions that we talked about earlier. Next is a comment here from Old Bother Gaming. He says that I think Shuri is definitely an example of what they mean by revisiting older heroes. So Shuri Black Panther versus T'Challa Black Panther. It says here that they're going to continue focusing on whatever major category of IP they're on, and then maybe mix in buffs for older traits when possible. If the next wave ends up being Defenders or the Fantastic Four, I hope they build out some more for the beefy boys. The 14+ HP heroes like Luke Cage, or like potential Luke Cage will probably have at least 14 hit points, and then we have like Thor, Hulk, all these 14+ hit point heroes. So I actually comment here that I actually disagree, and shout outs to Obother Gaming here. He does some great Marvel Champions playthroughs on his channel, and he has some giveaways too. But yeah, I mean, I talked about it in this video that we're reading the comments for, but I personally feel like that the revisiting older heroes is not going to be Shuri and Black Panther. It's going to be a different hero, right? Because they've already done that in the past, right? So like we have Spider-Man Peter Parker, and we have a different Spider-Man Miles Morales, that's also in the game, and I would not have considered that a revisited hero, just because the way that Tony made it seem was that this is a new concept that they're doing right now. And Shuri has been announced before his concept, and as far as we know, this concept is going to be introduced or start rolling out in 2026 from what they said. So I think all the heroes in 2025, which is Shuri Shuri Black Panther, I feel like that Shuri Black Panther is kind of just a different Black Panther, and I fully expected to see Eddie Brock Venom, who I would not consider a revisited Flash Thompson Venom, but just a new Venom in general. And I really want to see Otto Octavius, the Superior Spider-Man, stuff like that, just different people that don't the mask of Spider-Man. So in my opinion, I do believe that the revisiting older heroes will literally be a Steve Rogers Captain America, but maybe a different point in time. Like maybe it's gonna be the 1940s version of Captain America, back in old day, back in the old days, you know what I mean, whenever he was fighting the Red Skull before, he became, the man out of time before he became that legend, just a different version of him, I talked about in the video, maybe a Doctor Strange that has a time stone and his hero revolves around that. Maybe it's Peter Parker Spider whenever he's doing the black suit, not necessarily the symbiote, but just, wearing a black suit, because he has done that in the comics. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. About the game, it could be right. I'm not entirely sure. That's just kind of, our opinions here. Next, we have a comment here from Guarismo. Shout out to Guarismo. He loves the cat. Shout out to Sesame. She's napping over there, so she's not going to borrow us for this video. So if you guys are watching, for Sesame, I apologize. She will not be in this one. And Guarismo said that I'm so confused about how exactly this is going to work for new players. It's hard for him to imagine a Marvel-based comic game where a new player can't get Captain America as one of the first heroes because he's not in a corset. Captain America probably being one of the strongest, easiest to pilot, and to drive heroes out there. I understand the aspect cards can be reprinted if they see a lot of demand for it, but not sure how to address this issue of iconic heroes for the game not being available, and really not sure how they would create a new Captain America, Doctor Strange, or even Hulk. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the dilemma that we're all thinking right here, right? Is it's going to really depend how these new heroes look for Captain America, Doctor Strange, and Hulk, right? If they knock it out of the park, I think that a lot of the community will be appeased. But if they're knocked too far out of the park, then a lot of us might feel like that the older ones have become obsolete. So it just really all depends on that. And I mean, we have I think it's a lot of pressure, but yeah, I mean, so far, and I said this in a few comments here as well, Fantasy Flight Games, my experience with this game has been great. I trust them so far with everything that they've done, so I have no reason to not give them the benefit of the doubt. So I'm hopeful that everything will be great, and I'm holding out hope. A little bit worried, but definitely still holding out hope here. Next, we have a comment here from R Squared. Been waiting to pick up Captain America for a long time, and it sucks that it will probably be another while before he's released. Bummer. Yeah, I mean that stinks. It's gonna be definitely 2026 would be the shortest time that he will come back out for the revisited version. I'm really hoping that 2026 they just drop the revisited Captain America and Doctor Strange, because those are the two heroes that I think people have been waiting for the longest. So if those are the first heroes that they revisit so that people can play them again or get access to them for the first time if you don't have the older ones, that'd be really cool. So we're really hoping that those are the first two heroes. Comment here from Valmar. I think it's negative. My opinion is they talked about a bunch of false excuses to justify that they care about the money when they say they will stop reprinting, which is fair. But I prefer honesty rather than lying, saying that's what people want, and that doesn't mean they won't be at shops. Also, it's a way to create fear of missing out and make people buy everything just in case it disappears. Yeah, I mean I think that I'm not sure if Fantasy Flight Games saw this part, but I think that it's going to create a lot of FOMO. I think that whenever they made this announcement, Doctor Strange prices are already, like we talked about, like $100, for scalpers. It's going to go up now. Like anyone that has access to a Doctor Strange hero pack in their local game store, they're going to just take that up. There's going to be, if Doctor Strange and Captain America were already hard to find, they're going to get way more difficult to find right now. I'm not, and I commented here to Valmer, I'm not entirely sure if, it was false excuses, because I do feel like that Fantasy Flight Games was, at least honest in terms of talking about the profitability of Captain America and Doctor Strange, right? That reprinting those heroes, they just weren't making a profit out of it. So this is why they want to create a revisited version of Captain America. And yeah, I mean, I think, I appreciate that, honestly. We don't know, for sure, if that's true, but I think that makes sense, because whenever they release a new hero like Captain America, or a reprint of Captain America, I mean, if they released a reprint, obviously I'm not going to buy that reprint of Captain America because I have him, and all the older players won't buy that, but a bunch of new players will, but not as much as a new player would buy Magneto, because older players and new players, no one has Magneto, so we're all buying Magneto whenever he drops. But for older Captain America that's reprinting, a lot of the diehard fan base, that I'm a part of, probably won't buy that. So I can understand, I think, why that they wouldn't make a profit and why they need to make a profit in order to, do reprints. So yeah, I mean, I think they're in a tough spot. I'm not entirely sure about, their situation and all of that with how much they need this game to make money. I heard I watched on detail. He knows a lot more about this stuff, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing words I heard him say. Embracer, I think bought the company or something like that. I don't know what Embracer is, and they have debt from the company that bought them. I'm not entirely sure. So Marvel Games is one of the ways to help them get rid of that debt. So I'm not sure if the Fantasy Flight Games team for Marvel Champions is like under a lot of pressure to make money to get out of that. I have no clue about any of that stuff. Definitely go check out D20's channel if you guys want to learn more about that, because I don't even know the names I mentioned. I don't even know what Embracer is. Is that like a gaming company or something? I have no clue. But yeah, next comment here is from Ichiban Han. I just bought the core set around Christmas after seeing you and a couple other content creators teach the game, and he was instantly sold. I've been wanting to get the Wave 1 Heroes, but was waiting for a North American release of the Wave 1 Hero collection that Europe got. So that's kind of what we talked about earlier. Having Captain America, Doctor Strange, all those Wave 1 Heroes in one package that you can just buy. And now he doesn't know if he wants to buy any additional content after this news. Even the Rise of the Red Skull is out of stock everywhere, and I did not know that the Rise of the Red Skull was out of stock. I thought, because I actually bought that pretty recently. I think that was even the last expansion that I bought. I think I bought it last year. So it's crazy that even now that's out of stock everywhere. And yeah, I'm sorry. Like I apologize to Ichiban, because man, like all of like so many of our videos, my videos, other content creators, like our videos with like buyer's guides, our how to play stuff. It stinks because a lot of that stuff is now it's not, I don't know, it's not teaching the game like how we want. It's not a correct representation of the game anymore. Especially the buyer's guides, right? So like I have buyer's guides on my channel, and they don't make sense anymore, right? Because if you're watching that 2 years from now, and I'm telling you, I recommend you guys buy Captain America, well, it's not going to be viable anymore, and the reprinted version may not have the same aspect cards as the older one. So that video was it just doesn't make sense anymore. And then in terms of the how to play videos, definitely that's still just using all the core set heroes. So I'm hoping that will stick. But if the core set also becomes not a part of the current content anymore, but like I said earlier, we can assume that it will be, just because Tony said that, but things may change in the future. But yeah, even those how to play guides with the core set may not as be good anymore. So I apologize to Ichiban, and I'm hoping that you can still find a way to some of you get those heroes, or that they quickly release the revisited characters for you to have them to play. Next comment here is from TTTO Polis. Sesame is such a great name. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, it's our cat, Sesame. She's not going to be in this video, but yeah, thank you. That was a name that me and my wife came up with. We are very proud of that name. Yeah. I feel a bit overwhelmed, just in her comment, by the amount of content now. I have so much in my backlog, heroes I haven't played or heroes I haven't played in all aspects, that feels like I'll never get to. Sunsetting these heroes and releasing newer versions feels even more overwhelming. I was hoping to see other Marvel heroes before any sunsetting. Yeah, I think a lot of us wanted to see, Daredevil and every single hero in the game before revisiting heroes like Doctor Strange, and before sunsetting and retiring heroes like Doctor Strange and Captain America. And yeah, I mean, I know that Fantasy Flight Games' intent was to make newer players not feel overwhelmed by my content. But yeah, I can definitely see how some newer players can feel even more overwhelmed now, because now it's like, I know I'm never going to have that old Doctor Strange and old Captain America, and there's going to be a new one now, and is the one any good? There's not going to be any reviews of those packs online as of yet, especially when they first come out. And the more time goes through, people will have more reviews and more informed reviews on those heroes. But whenever the first the first revisited hero releases, we won't know exactly if it's good or not, right? We might have some differing opinions. Next comment here says, while a Web Warrior Spider-Man is an obvious ad, I actually kind of doubt that would be included in the revamped heroes. I mean, they very specifically mentioned these newer version of heroes. So they specifically mentioned Doctor Strange and Captain America going out of print. And Spider-Man is unlikely to ever go out of print unless they decide to release a completely new core box. Yeah, so I can definitely see that. I don't know if Spider-Man will be one of the new revamped, revisited heroes. I can just expect that, just because I know that they listen to community. I know that they heard what we said, right? That's kind of why Galaxy's Most Wanted is the most difficult box in the game, because they heard the community's complaints. We said that Marvel Champions is too easy, so they dropped Galaxy's Most Wanted, which is, super difficult. So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I know they heard that people want a Spider-Man Peter Parker that is a Web Warrior. They want the OG Web Warrior to be having that Web Warrior trait. So I think that they would have that. But once again, he won't be a revisited hero necessarily, because the core set heroes will still be in print. But I think that if they do drop a Spider-Man that's revisited, like a hero pack, a Peter Parker, I think that that would sell really well. So I can't see a reason why they wouldn't do that. I think that a lot of people really want to buy that Spider-Man Peter Parker, just because he's the best hero. He's the best comic book hero. Yeah, I'm just being biased. You guys know how I feel, but yeah, I mean, I know that he's one of the most beloved heroes, in all Marvel, in all comic book history. So I'm sure that it would do well if they did release a Spider-Man Peter Parker hero pack. Uh, Shouts to Kyle here for this comment. What this says to me is that Marvel Champions core set is profitable to FFG. Okay, I think I was mixing up some of the comments before, but yeah, I totally agree because they said that the core set is still going to be a part of the current environment, which definitely proves that the core set is selling really well. And the expansion and individual hero packs are not doing as well. And I think that this makes sense too, because if you're buying like an expansion, like say the Rise of Red Skull, you can't play that unless you have the core set as well. If you're buying like an individual hero pack, like let's say, Black Widow's hero pack, you can't play her unless you have the core set. So the core set's always going to be the most profitable one. And the other stuff, if I'm getting to get Marvel Champions, I know for me personally, I'll just buy my favorite hero in the core set, right? So if my favorite hero was like, Scarlet Witch, I'll just buy Scarlet Witch and then buy the core set. So in an ideal world, they want to print a bunch of one product and have it sell really quickly. This must only be happening with the core set. Selling the older product is a slow burn since it is only needed by new players who may take their time to build a collection. Yeah, I totally agree. Having lots of different products that people have to choose from means that you will have a much longer return on investment for each printing. It sounds like they want new players who get the core set to buy the new expansions, and this is their way of doing that. As a new player, I figured that I should try and start from the beginning, so I focused on Wave 2 heroes and managed to get the Rise of Red Skull and Galaxy's Most Wanted. I assumed that eventually there would be a Wave 1 box I could buy. What frustrates me is that while they have sold the Wave 1 box to parts of the world that got a late start on Marvel Champions, to my knowledge, they've never tried selling this box yet. I don't think they sold this box to the States to allow new players to build their collection. That to me is why the too many SKUs. I actually don't know what SKUs means, guys. Please let me know down in the comments. So easy to reduce the number of this thing by packaging up each old wave in a separate box. Also, the current situation is not financially fair to new players. Doesn't resonate with me. If they wanted to make it more fair, they should keep printing the old stuff so everyone has enough time to build up their full collection and doesn't have to pay a premium on eBay if they want the full set. Yeah, it's tough. I think that definitely if it was, if you could just take money out of it and everything was profitable, I'm sure that Fantasy Flight Games would just reprint all those older heroes. But unfortunately, yeah, it's for them to make a profit on the game. I think that it's gonna hurt at least some portion of players. We don't know in the long run if it'll actually hurt new players or older players, but at least right now, I think a lot of people are feeling that it stinks that they can't just have those those Wave 1 heroes like Captain America and Doctor Strange. It sucks that they never dropped that Wave 1 box for the States. I'm holding out hope that they will still do that maybe this year after seeing, the community perception that we're all reading right now. The community perception for, this new thing. As commented, this person commented, Fauded Chef, shouts to him. Either way, I think it's safe to say we need more new cat in the videos. Sorry guys, no Sesame in this video. I'm gonna actually try to not have Sesame in gameplay videos. So if you guys are looking out for that, she probably won't be in there unless like she jumps in at like the end of the video and it doesn't affect the gameplay. But yeah, we're gonna have to hold her somewhere for those. But yeah, possibly in the future we'll have more have more of her in like these talking types of videos if it doesn't bother her. She's just sleeping right now, so she's chilling. Shouts to Villain Theory here for this comment. My initial feelings are very negative, hoping for the best. We'll see how it all shakes out. Currently wrestling with whether to mass buy what I still need for Arkham. And yeah, huge shouts to Villain Theory here. I watched his video. If you guys have not seen his video, I definitely check it out. He like summarized everything in that Fireside chat. And I was so surprised seeing his comment because I thought that from his video, he had a very neutral opinion towards what was happening here. And he wasn't like, all negative on it. And then he commented this. I was like, what? Very negative. Where is that coming from? And if you guys don't know, me and VT, we are Team Marvel. A lot of the Marvel Champions content creators are Team DC. They actually like DC more than Marvel and only play Marvel Champions because it's like a better mechanical game. So yeah, if you guys are Team Marvel, comment that down below. Team Marvel for life. My wife is Team Marvel too. My cat Sesame, she's Team Marvel. And then for Arkham Horror, I've never played that game. I have no clue about it, but D20 recommends. So if you guys are Arkham players, get all the Arkham stuff. He recommends this, and he says it's from experience from the Lord of the Rings LCG that they had earlier. So yeah, definitely. That's some advice for you guys. I guess I don't know if it's good or not though. So blame D20 if it's not. Next we have a comment here from Nar Antlers. I'm choosing to remain positive despite my gut feeling. That's me too. That's kind of how I feel right now. I don't necessarily have a gut feeling. It's kind of a gut bad feeling, but it's not super. It's just like I want to just remain positive and try to be as positive as I can right now and just not think that everything's over. But next we have a comment here from Kyle Green. After watching the fireside chat and reading today's article, I'm optimistic about this new era. Shouts to Kyle. He is always optimistic. If you guys ever see comments from him, he's always very positive. There are some downsides, sure, but nothing earth-shattering. Natural evolution of the game's life cycle. The way they described the hero re-releases sounded cool. It won't be a tweak or a couple cards changed. Rather, it is a new design. That would be exciting so long as it isn't overdone. So yeah, shout out to Kyle. I definitely agree that there's definitely the possibility of this, and this is kind of what I'm hoping for with Nar Antlers. We're all hoping that this will happen in a awesome way for us to all still enjoy this amazing game. And next we have a comment here from Vamp Guy. I better find a Doctor Strange in English as a new player completionist for under $100 before the prices skyrocket. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It is already crazy. I really hope that you're able to get that, for cheap though, and under $100. I want them to re-release the OG of each hero, which with erratas. And so yeah, I mean, I think that's a possibility too. Do not want any more versions of the heroes like all Spider-Man we have already, because I'm a completionist and have to collect every single card, including every single hero version. I'm more worried about the legacy system for Arkham Horror than Marvel Champions. And that's because very little of Marvel is out of print compared to Arkham Horror. Yeah, I heard Arkham Horror stuff is pretty tough to get right now. I did get my hands on a Captain America pack. Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to do that. And the cost was doable, or cost was double the retail price, which is actually really good. I think if you can get Captain America or Doctor Strange for double retail price, I definitely recommend that you guys do that, because that's good. And I think that the price is gonna go even way more up. So yeah, I'm hoping that you're able to get your Doctor Strange, man. Next, we have a comment here from John from MC Deck Discussions. It's already been mentioned, but I'm willing to give Fantasy Flight Games the benefit of the doubt for this particular game based on what I've seen from them thus far. That's entirely how I feel as well. It's important for them to get feedback so that they know what people's concerns are, because it certainly seems like they want to keep selling packs. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm hoping this video is for, just to show everyone's thoughts. And there's definitely both sides, and I'm not entirely sure what is the majority and what most people feel, because once again, not all people that comment here on my video and not all my viewers are they don't represent all the Marvel Champions community, but I know they represent like the part at least that I'm a part of, I guess. So yeah, that's just kind of how we feel, and I think that Fantasy Flight Games definitely takes in the community opinions, and they build around that. Next we have a comment here from Your Tamed Lion. I'm more skeptical about it. The more I think about it, and then on one hand, there might be different reasons why I don't reprint old heroes that were not disclosed. On the other hand, I am a bit worried about their release cadence. If they revisit the old but popular heroes, would slow down the new hero releases a lot. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier. I'm hoping that they release heroes, an extra hero, and it's not like we're missing out on a hero pack to get a revisit Captain America, but that we're getting, Bucky Winter Soldier in addition to Captain America in that same time. That would be really cool. And the game's been a lot of fun, and I trust them to deliver good products. Yep, Sam. And I'm optimistic, although a bit worried. I think that's how a lot of us feel. Let's hope for the best. Yeah, we're all hoping for the best here. Next, we have a comment here from Neo Jaw. I believe Fantastic Four already captured the bulk. No, Fantasy Flight Games already captured the bulk of the target audience for Marvel Champions, and it's past its prime. If they want to make it more accessible to new players, maybe they should try the Marvel United approach by releasing sporadic standalone core/expansions. Yeah, I think that's crazy. So I've been saying that I actually think that Marvel Champions is in its prime right now. I think that the mechanics, everything is just top notch right now, and everything just feels really good. The heroes, the scenarios, everything feels well balanced. But with the announcement of this fireside chat, and from Neo Jaw's comment, he might be right. I'm kind of worried about that. Maybe Marvel Champions is past its prime, and I'm scared for that. But yeah, I think that it's definitely tough, and I think having standalone core/expansions would definitely make those products a lot more accessible. But at the same time, that might hurt the sales of the core set, because then you don't need the core set to play anymore, right? So I'm not exactly sure what the best move for them is here. And this have a comment here from Ray Plays Games. This certainly has shaken up the tree. I need to see how it pans out from my own perspective. I don't think it affects me that much. I still have all my cards and can still use them whenever I want. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too for newer players and those just starting to find momentum. I hope they can be reassured with the new material that will be released. Yeah, they have to be really good. It has to be an awesome new Captain America and an awesome new Doctor Strange. And yeah, it's going to be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people, for myself included. And then for people that have the entire collection, not wanting to buy duplicate, I mean, I'm a hardcore Marvel Champions player at this point, so I'm gonna buy. I'm looking forward to a new Doctor Strange, and I'm down with the duplicate because it's gonna be different Steve Rogers, different mechanics. I think that'd be really cool. And then they can only speak for themselves, but they look forward to having variants of heroes. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm excited to see new variants. And next we have a comment here from Fernando Feet. Shout out to Fernando. This news is terrible for him. They talked a lot about accessibility, but retiring products is the worst thing you can do to accessibility. I mean that's kind of what it is right now. And they also mentioned that they will reprint old cards in new packs. And I think this is pretty bad. When I buy a new pack, I don't want more copies of cards I already have. Yeah, that's definitely a big thing too. I know that a lot of people want reprints so that you don't have to buy everything. But for players like him and I that have everything, it stinks having reprints. One solution that I thought of that I really like is having alternate arts for that. So if they do that, that would be really cool because I'm okay with alternate arts. If it's like a reprint like Death Focus, but it's a different art in it, I like to see that new art and use that new version. It still feels kind of new to me. I personally don't like this new version of older heroes like Ironheart or the new Shuri. This kind of thing just makes it less interesting in playing the older heroes. I can definitely see that perspective. For me, all these changes just benefit the company. Now they can just create new products for the same heroes over and over again and add reprints in the packs. They don't need to create all 25 aspects and new basic cards. They can just add the reprints, right? Yeah, I definitely see that. Yeah. Next comment here from Front End Chaos. He just finished his collection and got Dark Strange from Sweden. So at least I'm not going to be missing out. I'm pretty new to LCG, so cross my fingers that this is a positive move. Yeah, we're all crossing our fingers here. I'm very glad that you're able to get your collection finished out and you got a Doctor Strange pack. So yeah, I'm very glad that you're able to do that. I hope that everyone else is able to do that as well. This is a comment from Costas Edison. Really disheartened to hear the sunsetting older heroes, indifferent about the whole environment thing. I'll just keep playing whatever. If it gives them more wiggle room when it comes to balancing new scenarios, and so be it. Excited about reprints. Yeah, I'm still missing a ton of useful cards. Yeah, I think for people that don't have everything, getting reprints is really cool because then you can get those powerful aspect cards, and then you don't have to buy the entire collection. Next, we have a comment here from David. Still don't know how to feel about this new model, but I like your ideas. If we have to get the old heroes again, base them on their different designs, but I would prefer different characters altogether. Yeah, I think there's definitely a different market for everything. I think that a lot of people want the Daredevil and all those, Moon Knight, all those heroes first before we revisit older heroes. But once again, if they can release those older heroes at the same time as like Daredevil and not make us feel we're missing out on Daredevil because we're getting Daredevil along with the revisited hero, and that's just a bonus for everyone, right? I'm really hoping that's what happens with that. Next is a comment here from Denny's. Fantasy Flight Games is making a huge mistake with this move. They just said after 2 years, the current state of customers should just exit to make room for the next group. I'm done at the end of the year. Yeah, I don't know. I personally, I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but personally, I feel like that for us older players, this is actually fine for us, right? We're kind of just, we already have all the content. We're just gonna be able to play whatever we want, legacy or not, and so use all those that we have, right? So, personally, I don't think it's the biggest deal for us older players, but I can definitely see how it feels like that based on what they said, that they're kind of focusing on newer players and they want to bring in more people versus not focusing as much on the older fan base. But I do feel like that, I don't know, I do feel like that as an older player, I am excited to see a newer version of Doctor Strange and Captain America, just for me personally. And next we have a comment here from DM Tip. I heavily dislike the standard legacy format because I don't think it really serves a purpose other than making Fantasy Flight Games feel good about what they're doing, thinking that new players will enjoy it. This is a non-competitive co-op game, so why do we need an division or categories? Just man up, save his licensing or money or whatever, as a reason old heroes won't get a reprint. Shoot, it might even be just be internal politics of those designers moving on to other projects. Who knows? Yeah, so I commented to him here that, yeah, I mean, they did say that it was, a profitability issue for Captain America. Whether or not they should have, emphasize that more, maybe they should have. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that we do at least know that it is a profitability thing and they do want to make money. I've been with March James since the beginning, so I'm trying to speak for others, just not getting into it. Like my son who spends his own money to get one box or one pack at a time. I don't mean to sound harsh, but direct. They should be able to tell us what the raw deal is and go on from there. Yeah. I was excited to see new heroes, so I wouldn't mind alternate versions of Peter or Steven down the line, but the language of Legacy makes me wonder what kind of treatment they'll get. As long as they still feel like those characters, I'd be happy. It's a must to connect thematics. Yeah, really good point here. I totally agree. As long as it still feels thematic and mechanically sound, I'm down for that. And I want to be able to play a new Peter Parker with the old Peter Parker. That would be really, really cool. I'm not sure how they could do that. Maybe they have to change the unique rulings for that. But yeah, I mean, a multiverse theme and then have them not kind of butt heads, have their kids still be fluid with one another. That should be really cool. And yeah, if they're able to make these, make it thematic with like this different version of these characters, that would be really exciting. And next we have a comment here from Nalikar. Trying to be positive, but I definitely think it could end up giving that FOMO, especially for newer players. I have mostly content, so while it doesn't impact me greatly, I do feel for everyone who didn't go crazy buying everything like I did around April last year. So I'm glad you're able to get everything now, car, and I definitely feel the exact same way. I feel like that, for me, I mean, I think that is not going to be the biggest thing because I have all the content, but definitely for newer players, I feel for you guys too. Yeah, I mean it's a tough thing. I wish that there was a way to just get everyone where they wanted for the packs and just have it be out there. Yeah, it's definitely a tough thing. Shout out to Matt here, who we talked a little bit more here in the comments. But basically, his original thought is that he does not like this. The more I thought about this really opens up the design space for the game and could be very interesting. So they actually changed their mind here. And I'll have to reserve judgment for now. My guess is that I may play a current light version where I play current, but throw in a few cards from old meta if I want or need them in the deck. As an aside, this may actually increase the life cycle of the game. Yeah. So in case you guys are wondering, he actually commented here. I think this is actually a very insightful comment. He said that he thinks that I will be a content creator that won't end up following Legacy and that I'll be playing the current environment, even though I said that I'll probably play the Legacy environment. Yeah, so he says, sure, you run up against Venom Golem or run, I'm playing Legacy, which I probably will still do a lot. But if I'm bored with this other stuff, I'm probably just going to be playing the current environment because I want to play with a more limited card pool against those new scenarios if they are weaker. So I think that's the interesting thing. And then he made really good points with this, right? So every tech card that's currently designed needs to have a purpose in mind. If a purpose is no longer in the card pool because it's not in the current environment, they can now have so much more freedom when building tech cards. With Thor cards needing to be designed with Overwatch in mind. Angel makes every Arrow event have to be designed with him in mind, right? So having this stuff all be in the old environment is very, very really does open up a lot of space for new powerful cards. And if you combine those cards with the legacy environment, I mean, those cards would break the game. But now I guess this allows them to not break the game unless you're playing Legacy, but still have things still be balanced for the current environment, which can maybe even increase the release cadence, which would be really, really cool. Next, I have a comment here from Kevin Carter. I'm going to wait and see, but I've got a bad feeling about this. Yeah, a lot of people, myself included, are very worried about it. Shouts to Talk30. I always just call him Taco. They're killing this game. I'll probably stop buying new stuff to March Games after 2025. But yeah, he will definitely keep playing the game and still be watching all of us content creators. So shouts to him for that. But yeah, I mean, I think one cool thing is that even if you don't want to buy the newer stuff, all the old content is still very replayable. It's kind of like Monopoly or like Splinter, like just any board game. March Champs is always going to be very replayable. Next comment here is from Gaito. Shouts to him. You got a new cat and it's not black. Change your handle. Yeah, I mean, black cat. Probably should have gotten a black cat. No, but I mean, me and my wife really liked Sesame, and she seemed very sweet at the adoption agency. So we kind of resonated with her. And even though she's not black cat for Spider-Man, so yeah, maybe I need to change my handle now. The next comment here is from Be Mindful. Fantasy Flight Games just reprint the old cards, maybe with a new artwork. It really doesn't have to be that hard. And don't power creep the old heroes by introducing busted keywords, aka star, which in my opinion wasn't the best idea. Yeah, and I commented over here. I'm not the biggest fan of Stalwart, but I'm also not the biggest fan of Stun and Confused, so it's a great way to balance them both. If there was no Stun, Confused, or Stalwart, that might be a better world for March Champs. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. And next I have a comment here from Kazuchi. For new players, this might be a big L. Why would they want to play the old version of Doctor Strange? Yeah, I totally agree, because either way, even with the new version, there are going to be people with preferences that want to play the older version. And it doesn't matter if the new one is improved. I'm cautiously positive because of one reason. This game has yet to disappoint me. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Every expansion, the new expansion has been great. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. looks great. Sure, it's not exactly cheap because of licensing, but once you buy a pack or expansion, you have everything for that content. You don't need to buy a billion booster packs to hopefully get everything you need and left with a bunch of copies of cards you don't and I can't do anything with. So buy overly expensive single cards. Yeah, so a lot of trading card games you have to buy. Like a single is like $50 or $100 or more, right? So it's really good that March Games doesn't have that, at least currently. And the mechanics are fun. Heroes and villains are super thematic. There are only like 2-3 heroes I actively dislike. Stand with villains, and the arts on the cards are great, and it's fairly easy to set up and quick to play. And so yeah, I totally agree with all of that. And next we have a comment here from Nar Antlers again. You can always print out legacy out of print cards onto blank playing cards. They just can't maintain profitability while keeping everything available for purchase. Yeah, that's definitely understanding of Fantasy Flight Games side. It's just difficult to have everything available and have them make money out of that, right? So being able to print that, I think a lot of people mentioned that as well. Having cards to print like a printable version would be really good for the community. There's a comment here from Haijong, or was it Hijong? Sorry, sorry if I butchered that. If March Games is just one timeline, can Fantasy Flight Games just make another timeline with a soft reboot? Yeah, that I commented here. I kind of feel like that's what they're doing right here, but unfortunately, here's from the original time will be near impossible to get. So that's kind of the downside of having a soft reboot. It's not just like we have a different timeline here, but it's all the old stuff is kind of gone here. And next, I have a comment here from Proofrock. This would be fine if they actually reprint archetype staples. Yeah, I totally agree. If they can get those archetype staples back in play, like perfect defense and stuff like that, that'd be really good. Unfortunately, I think that they actually, some of the stuff they may not want anymore, right? Like if dive bomb is too powerful and home technique, they might not even have new versions of those cards in the current content, and that just might be phased out for a balancing issue. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to do that. And next we have coming from Justin Vamp. It's not ideal, but we always knew that eventually they stopped printing old stuff. It was just a matter of when. Yeah, I don't know if I knew that. I don't think I knew that, but I think that a lot of people probably knew that. In terms of the legacy current environments, it's a co-op game. You just play whatever you want, however you want. They can't dictate that. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. It's just no matter what, I think I'm probably just gonna play a legacy. Shout out to Matt again, who thinks I'm gonna play more current, but I think I'm gonna always just be a legacy player and just playing with everything that I have and just enjoying that. Yeah, next, we have a comment here from a pigeon. I just wish I could buy the cards. I just started playing the game, and now all the content that every YouTube recommends is now unaccessible to me. If I knew that was gonna happen, I would never bought the game in the first place. I'm sorry, man. Yeah, it stinks. Yeah, I know that those are like the ones that I made too. They're just not applicable anymore. They just don't make sense anymore because of the stuff that's just out of print now. So yeah, it's definitely tough. I wish that there was some other way. Yeah, it's just one more print cycle or something like that would be great. But yeah, it's very unfortunate. Hopefully though, they are able to make an amazing Captain America and new Doctor Strange and all that stuff, to where you're able to enjoy the game as much as we did. And I think this is definitely kind of a harder time to get into game, depending on how the new Captain America and New Doctor Strange is. Right now, before the release, it's definitely tough if you want to play those heroes. Next is a comment here from Matthew. Less Marvel Champions, more Sesame content. Yeah, guys, I want to give you more Sesame content. No, I don't know if she's going to be back that often, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Sesame is great. Hopefully you guys don't mind seeing her in videos. Next we have Ghost Sage. A comment from Ghost Sage. I don't think it's that big of a deal as long as they keep releasing new stuff. Yeah, I think a lot of the older people like me that have everything, I think that it won't affect us too much. Some might be a little bit easier, but you know, keeping everything balanced with the current card pool. But overall, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal for us. And this will come here from your Looney. I think you're right about the continuing release update of heroes. However, we won't get a Steve Rogers cap. It will be a Sam Wilson cap. It won't be Stephen Strange. It will be Clea Strange instead of Bruce Banner Hulk. It will be, Braun Hulk. In the long run, it will add a nice variety to the game going forward. Yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier. I personally disagree. I could entirely be wrong though. I don't know for sure. Because I don't work for Fantasy Flight Games. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we will, get the Sam Wilson cap regardless of whether or not we get another revisited Captain America Steve Rogers. And I think it would be disservice to the game to not have a Steve Rogers Captain America that new players can play. So I really think that they will have that. But yeah, hopefully I'm not wrong. All right, and then we have the last comment here from Xylo-kun. Shout out to Xylo-kun for the comment. I feel like a large part of Champions is somewhat power creep proof. I definitely agree with that. But I can't help but notice that a lot of the newer folks that they have been putting out have been more and more powerful in their own ways. Like, yes, all cards can be used with all heroes, but that doesn't mean every hero is viable. I'm hoping we don't get power creep in the sense that they just keep adding more abilities that older folks just do not get. We're getting more and more mechanics, but it's mostly been rules revisions or things like keywords. I would love to see new aspects and not just Deadpools. I can't imagine releasing more pool aspect cards without him. Yeah, that is a really good point that he made with the pool aspect thing with Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool, you need Deadpool's hero pack to kind of play the pool aspect, right? So if they do release more pool aspect cards, if Deadpool becomes a part of the legacy environment, I mean, the pool aspect just won't be supported anymore. Obviously there wasn't any promise to have more support for the pool aspect, but yeah, if Deadpool is in the legacy, I think that's kind of done with that, right? I can't imagine them releasing another pack like Deadpool's, because then you need all those old cards from Deadpool's hero pack, like the triple resource and stuff like that. So yeah, pool aspect may just be done here. And I totally agree that, Marvel Champs, I think that it's pretty power creep proof the way it is. And for this comment right here, I do believe that with this new format of the current environment, I do think that there will not be power creep, right? Because I think that's kind of the point of this environment, is to make things easier for newer players. So even if you don't have the expanded card pool, you can still take down the newer scenarios even with a more limited card pool. So that's going to help balance out the game for the current content. I think where power creep could happen is not necessarily like new cards become too powerful, but new cards in combination with legacy cards, like the combos I talked about earlier from Matt's comment about a super powerful tech upgrade that just goes bonkers with a repurpose or something like that, right? I think that would be where power creep would come. So yeah, this man, I didn't expect. I thought it would be easier to do this video, but reading all that, my voice is messed up now. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope that Fantasy Flight Games sees this and can take in the all the opinions from the community. I think that there was a lot of really good insight that you guys had in terms of what Fantasy Flight Games could do, and I think that a lot of those things are very profitable for them as well. And maybe it's not, I don't know the entire story of what's profitable or not, but if it is, that would be really cool for Fantasy Flight Games to release, more heroes in a year, have them released at the same time as like the heroes that we're already going to get with a revisited hero on top of that, have like a re-release of like the wave one heroes or something like that, like, and name them like a legacy pack. And I'm sure that a lot of people would buy that, and I'm hoping that that would be profitable. So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who commented and is engaging in this discussion. I think that as a community, I think that it's important for us to talk about this and have our opinions voiced out. So I hope that all you guys that commented feel that your opinions have been heard, and I hope that Fantasy Flight Game sees this. And yeah, just hoping that everything goes well with this game in the future, because I love it a lot. I know you guys love this game as well, and yeah, I'm just hoping that everything goes well. I'll see you guys all in the next video.